Okay, so we're a new siman. We're up to siman lamed ches. Din siman lamed ches. Din mi hem chayovim b'tefillin v'apturim. Who is chayav and who is potter from tefillin? So says the Mechaba. Chayle me'ayim, someone who's got a stomach ache. Potter mit tefillin, he is potter from tefillin. Says the Ramah, afilu ein lo tza'ar. Even he may not be in pain, but he can't sort of control himself. Avol shach chayle, but any other person who's sick, in mitztar b'cholyev ein daitem yeshevet alov, potter ve'im lav chayav. He is potter, and if his das, however, is miyushuv, then he is chayav. Says the Mishnah Berurah, chayle me'ayim, he's got a stomach ache. V'hu adin misha shosem mashke ha'mishalshel. Someone who drinks something which is, I think it's called a diuretic, there will be mishalshel, and therefore he won't be able to have the guf noki, so he's potter from tefillin. Potter, says Rashi, mishum the tefillin boy guf noki, tefillin needs a guf noki. Mit tefillin, says the Mishnah Berurah in Sif Cotton Gimel, misha bittel mitzvahs tefillin machmas chayli. If someone he didn't put on tefillin because he was unwell, va'ovru alav shleishim yoim, and Nebuch has been unwell for a long time, and 30 days have passed that he hasn't put on tefillin, shalom nicham, k'shechayze umenicham ein tzarech levarach shechionu. He doesn't make a shechionu. He doesn't make a shechionu. Tsa'ar, so the Mechaba says, chayli mi'ayim potter mit tefillin, says the Ramah, afilu ein lo tsa'ar, says the Mishnah Berurah, im haylech b'shvakim b'brachobes potter. So afilu, even if he's got a stomach ache and he's running backwards and forwards to the bathroom, so even if he's going to work and he's running around and he's out and about, he's still potter from tefillin. For also lehachme al atzma bezen, he shouldn't be machme. It's also for him to be machme in this respect. Ela b'shas kriyishma tefillah. However, when it comes to kriyishma and shmon esra, im yodea sheyuchel lahamed es atzma beguf noki, if he knows he can sort of hold out for that shorter period of time, then he should try and put on tefillin for that. Or kumesh shekasul lekam and sif base. Good. Now, then it carries on and says avol shar choyle, but if he's got other illness. So, for example, he's got a terrible migraine. So says the Ramah that if he's got avol shach choyle in mitzvah b'cholyev ve'ein daitem yeshevet alov, potter, then he's exempt. Ve'im lav chayav. Says the Mishnah Berurah, you've got hey potter shema mitoy chatzar yatziach daitem hem. What's the problem? Because he might be mesiach das from the tefillin. Ve'im reitze lahach me'alatzma rishai. Now, in that situation, if he wants to be machman himself, he is rishai. When it comes to a stomach ailment, then he shouldn't be machmir, because that's very hard to hold, to look after the guf noki aspect. But if he's got another chayla, for example, he's got a terrible migraine, then if he wants to be machmir himself, Rishai, he's able to. Now, new halacha, carrying on the Mishnah Berurah Sif Cotton Hay, misha liboy orim. If someone is his upper part of his body is exposed, he's not wearing clothes, he's just wearing trousers, and above that he's naked. We're not talking, the top two buttons of his shirt are open. So if he's not wearing clothes above the waist, he shouldn't put on tefillin. The after levarech rishai, even though he's allowed technically to make brachas, given she'ervasa mechusa, because his erva is mechusa, nonetheless, it's just not appropriate that his chest is exposed and he puts on tefillin. Okay, sif base. Says the Mechaba. Someone who is certain that he will not be able to daven without passing wind, better that he lets the zman tefillah pass than to daven without a guf noki. If he feels that he's able to sort of control himself during just saying krishma, so yaniach tefillin bein ha'avo lekrishma vivarich. He should put on the tefillin just for shma. In other words, immediately after avo rabbo, and then put on tefillin, say shma, and he makes the bracha even. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Sif Cotton Vov, Misha Bariloi, Lafuki Men Yodeh Bebiras, to exclude someone who's not sure. Bavada ein levatel afilu tefillah b'tzibur mishum zeh. So if he's not sure, then if he, unless he's absolutely certain, there's no way he can hold himself back. But if he's uncertain, then he shouldn't not do tefillah b'tzibur. Lispalel, v'davka tefillah mishum du ka'imid lifnei hamelech. because he's standing, saying Shemona Esrei is like standing in front of a king. And that's a gnai for him to to wait until the thing passes. But Kriya Shema and brachas are muta ach b'li tefillin. Even if he's not certain, he can contain himself during that short period of time. B'shas Krishma, ein lekam siman pei Mishnah Berurah ki shom yuvua kol beis Hashem. There we'll explain in more detail in Hilchos Krishma. V'yivarech, and he makes the bracha, this person who's going to just put on tefillin for that short period of time. V'yikre bohen Shema, and he says Shema, v'achach yicholtzon, and then he quickly takes the tefillin off. Even he's got such a small window where he puts on the tefillin, he says Shema, and he might just be able to take the tefillin shel rosh off and not the tefillin shel yad. It's still mutar lechatchila to put on both of them. Kain kosav amogan avram. Aval prima godem mefakvek bezer, and says he's uncertain about that. Okay, if you're not sure whether you'll be able to keep your tefillin off long enough to put your tefillin on, say Shema, and take them both off. So the Prima Godem is mefakvik, but the Mogen Avram says, no, if you can put them on and just say Shema and then take off just the tefillin sharosh, that's enough. Okay, Gimel. Noshim va'avodim petur mitfillin. Women and avodim are peturim from tefillin b'nei shem mitzvahs asei shazman groma, because the standard rule, of course, is that women and avodim are exempt from positive time-bound mitzvahs, mitzvahs asei shazman groma. V'im, says the Ramah, v'manoshim roitzin lahachme al atzmon, and if women want to be machme and to put on tefillin, says the Ramah, meichin biyadam, we protest and we tell them not to do so. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Sif Katan Yud, v'tumtum v'androgenes, what if a person is a sofek? He's either a tumtum, which means it's covered and therefore it's not clear whether he's got simonim of a zachar and a keva, and androgenes, he's got both. Chayovim b'tefillin, they are chayiv, and tefillin is sofek k'chol mitzvahs, because on the sofek that the person is a man, he's chayiv b'chol mitzvahs. What about making a bracha? So again, it depends. If you're chayiv according to Minhag Ashkenaz, you make a bracha on mitzvah. So even though women are potter, because it's mitzvah sheish hazman groma, they still, the minhag is to make a bracha. So the chayr, then you make a bracha. I think in 8, he talks about that. That's at the back of the book. He says even though we say sofek brachas lahaka, there are more kosovs there. The back in footnote 8, he says lefisha minhag shenoshim mevarchas al mitzvah sheish hazman groma gam tumtum androgenes yivarcha al tzitzis, etc. Al varchat al tefillin kosov the muchi Orach Chaim yivarcha mishum sofek brachas shelo yivarchu, because of sofek brachas lahaka. Okay, so there's a chiluk between tzitzis and tefillin. Says the Mishnah Berurah shazman groma to Shabbos v'yontav lavzman tefillin. It's interesting. So I would have thought that why is it mitzvah shazman groma? If you ask 10 people in the street, why is tefillin a mitzvah shazman groma? I think many people will tell you because of nighttime, you don't wear tefillin. But we actually paskin laila, I think, is man tefillin. It's machlekes in the Gemara. But says the Mishnah Berurah, because Shabbos and Yontif is lavzman tefillin, and therefore it's considered it's not it's mitzvah shazman groma. Yeah, so it's mitzvah shazman groma. Okay, says just finishing off the Yud base. Hanoshim I'm prima godim shuadin avodim v'aim b'sefer teis v'Shabbos because of b'din lehepach. Okay, moichin biyodam. So a woman who wants to put on tefillin, we protest. Moichin biyodam they should strichen gufnaki. Now why can't women put on? Why can't they be machmer? They want to listen to shofar, they want to shake lulav, sit in the sukkah. We've got no problem with that. So why is it with tefillin we're more stringent? Moichin biyodam, says Mishnah Berurah, they should strichen gufnaki. V'noshim ein zrizas lizohe. Women, you need a gufnaki for tefillin, and noshim ein zrizas lizohe. So it's difficult to understand exactly what that means. So is it because of nidus, maybe? Not entirely clear. Is it dafka in those days? Nowadays, maybe it's different. But either way, I'll tell you what the Piskei Tshuva says. The Piskei Tshuvas, interestingly, he brings the Gemara in Eruvin, which we did together, Chaim, with Michal bas Shaul. The Gemara says in Eruvin, Daf Tzadi Vav Amud Aleph, Michal bas Shaul shenicha tefillin v'loy michu b'chachamim. And the chachamim did not protest. Why? Mishum shenizhara b'guf naki. Because there she was particular to be careful about making sure that she had a guf naki. V'yesh hakoizim lodun bizmanenu shemanichin rak b'shas krishma tefillin. Now he brings that there are those who write that nowadays that women can put on b'shas kriyishma and tefillah, because maybe the Ramah is talking about wearing it the whole day. And being careful for gufnaki the whole day is difficult, but to put on for a short period of time, maybe it's okay. Listen to what he writes. Mikol Malkum Lamaisa, nevertheless, says the Piskei Teshuvos, Chalila milahati lohem, afilu l'rega echad. Chalila, we should allow them to put on tefillin even l'rega echad. Ki chen derech hamischadshim v'hamisalfim haTorah l'aniach tefillin noshim. This is the beginning. This is the way of those who want to sort of bring new innovations and deviate and reform that which is our traditions. We shouldn't allow them to put on even for a moment. One should try and keep away from that sort of idea. But he then brings a very interesting Targum Yonasan. The Targum Yonasan Ben Uziel says on the pasuk Lo yia kligeva al isha. Yeah, the pasuk in Dvarim Chaf Beis pasuk Hey, of Lo yia kol geva, that a woman shouldn't wear man's clothes and vice versa. The pasuk, the Targum translates that pasuk Lo yia gluyin de tzitzis for tefillin, that a woman shouldn't wear tzitzis and tefillin because they're considered male clothing. In regards in the Arizal writes, he brings Makaris here, that these are very strict things, and therefore one should, the woman, that's why the Ramah says that one should be meicha against the woman who tries to wear tefillin. Okay, continues the Mishnah, we've got time still. Dalet, hameniach tefillin, tzorich lizahem mehiro taivas isha. A person has got to be very careful from not having any inappropriate machshavas. The im efsha, says the Ramah, below hirum, if he cannot put on tefillin with these hirurim, mutav shlo lanichem. Unbelievable. Better not put on tefillin. Says the Ramah, says the Mishnah Berurah and Sifkat Yudalet, lizohe de bo'inen gufnaki gam b'machshava ra. Gufnaki extends not to just the physical body, but to your machshava. Amazing. Shlo lanichem. ומכל מקום יראה בכל היכולת לעקוף את עצמו ולמשוך הלב ליראת שמיים כדי להסיע הדחס מדברי הווי המזיקים לגוף לנפש. And therefore one has got to try very hard to make sure, to force it. You've got machshavas rois, to try and force yourself to push off those machshavas which are mazik the guf and the nefesh. Lefanas halev lekabel alav al machal shemaim b'kedusha. Let's just do hey. This is a very interesting halacha. Rahman al-Islam, because again the whole simon is mihem hachayovim betfilin v'turim. What about an oval? That's the classic example. The oval on the first day, when he's an oinen, and even the yom hakvura, he doesn't wear tefillin. So says the Mechaba in Sif Hey, oval b'yom rishon osalon yach tefillin. The oval, a person who's lost one of his 7 close relatives, mother, father, brother, sister, son, daughter, spouse, he doesn't put on tefillin. Mikan ve'elech chayev, and from then on he is chayev. Afilu bo upon chadoshes, even if new menachamim come. Says in the Mishnah Berurah in Sifkat Tezayin, b'yom rishon pirush. Afilu b'yom shenikbar, even on the day of the kvura she'enu yom hamisa. So he died on a Monday, and the kvura was on a Tuesday. Even on the yom hakvura he doesn't put on tefillin. Because that's the Yom Rishon for the Avelus and for the Menachamim. And therefore, even if the mace died in night time, he doesn't put on tefillin the next day. But if he died and was or was buried on Chol HaMoed, he does put on tefillin b'chol hamoed. V'prima godim b'simin ayin aleph mafakvik b'zeh to mikol makom yom marhu lo yom rishon, because of course the shiva is going to be pushed off till after Yom Tov. So what if he dies on Chol HaMoed? So he says meniach tefillin bein b'chol hamoed. He does put on tefillin. Now the prima godim is mafakvik because at the end of the day it's yom marhu lo yom rishon. It's still Yom Mar for him. You've got to be careful not to make a bracha. In any event, our minhag is not to make a bracha on tefillin b'chol hamoed. After Yom Rishon Avelus, because even though the Shiva begins after Yom Tov, people have still been menachem him over Yom Tov itself when it actually happened. And so too, when he's buried on Yom Tov Sheni, Yaniach Tefillin be'Isru, he was still put on Tefillin on Isru Chag because that's the next day. The Yom Tov Sheni Oil Minyan Shiva, because Yom Tov Sheni, the second day Yom Tov will count as the Shiva. V'Yom She'ach HaMoed Yechoshev L'Sheni, and the day after Yom Tov will therefore be considered the second day. V'chein Im Shama Shmua Kereva, and if certain a person hears a Shmua Kereva, Kureva Dahainu, B'toich Shloshim Yom, that one of his relatives have died within the last 30 days. Afilu b'yom shloshim asma, even on day 30, Gamkein Dino Kiyom Hakvura is still considered the Yom Hakvur. V'lochein Afilu im Shama B'layla lo yanech tefillin b'yom. Even if he heard at night time, the next day he will not put on tefillin. V'afilu bolo shmo Kureva k'shekvay niach tefillin v'hischel ispalel. Even if Boshmur Kureva he's already put on tefillin and he started davening, and Nebuch, someone comes into shul to tell him the bad news. Cholzon, he's got to take the tefillin off. And if he hears a shmur rechoika, what is that? That one of his relatives have died more than 30 days ago. And the avelis there is just for a moment. It's allowed for him to put on tefillin. Certainly you have to take them off. If the news comes during Pesukah de Zimra, lo yachas tefillin, in that situation for a shmur rechoika, that he died more than 30 days ago, you don't take your tefillin off. Rak yachlos min olav mishum avelis. You just take your shoes off. If through this news he's going to start crying, and he should take the tefillin off. Okay, also this is the lashon of the mechaber is also lo niach tefillin on the first day. The tefillin nikrin pe'er b'posuk. The tefillin are called the pe'er. The oval ma'oil ba'efer, and the oval is not wearing this splendor thing. He's sort of ma'oil ba'efer. Ve'in noi loses pe'er tachas efer. Mikan ve'elech tichsiv v'achariso k'yom mar shma menod the ikamirus hu yom rishon is the first day. But beyond that, he has to put on chayev. Mashma the chayev miyad. This is going on. Mikan ve'elech chayev. You should put on straight away. V'yesh poskim to b'yom sheni ein laniach kodim ha'netz hachama. People in Makna, they shouldn't put on before Netz HaChama. This is shaykh in the winter. That Netz HaChama here can be as late as 8:07, I think, in London. You should wait until putting on tefillin till after Netz. That's why some of the Shiva houses, the first day of Shiva, which it will be the chakras will be a little bit later in the winter, so that the oval can put on tefillin with like everyone else. Ponim chadoshes lenachim oisoi, to comfort him. Mashma demniach lechatchila avul hachrein masked the ein laniach b'fneim tefillin al sheyechu lohem ela the ein chayletz maniach chaydim shebo ponim chadoshes. Tell you one interesting thing, that what if a person has got Nebuch has got bad news to tell him, that one of the mesas died. So he says here in footnote 11, someone who doesn't yet know, and you've got to Nebuch tell the bad news. Don't run to tell him before he puts on tefillin, because let him put on tefillin. And then Shekain calls man shlo no de shemes, because if he doesn't yet know, lo yichol olav aninus, there's no aninus yet on him. Omnom im hu ma'atzmem mesupek umutla olav levaris adova yitochin shenochen ledim yad. Okay, if he's not, it depends on the situation. But sometimes the tendency is to run to tell him. Actually, let him put on tefillin first, and then Mr. Shemesh, then you have simchas and learn about nice things. Say that. Okay.